And now look at this one, iron sword. Look, okay, I'm not saying, look, the handle is completely like those bronze items, right? You remember that? That one, forget these quillons here. Look at the crossguard, forget this one. But all of a sudden, this one has a crossguard like Parthian swords and early Sasanian swords.
Yeah. And what amazes me is if you found that in Europe, you'd think it was a middle-aged European dagger.
Yeah.
It's so advanced of its time.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I
okay,
mean,
now it was found in Hamadan, which is a city in Iran, and it is attributed to 1000 BCE, right? And it's iron, right? They say possibly steel, and there are some traces of gold on it.
Yeah. Is the crossguard iron as well, I wonder?
Yeah.
Because it looks like it's pitted the same way as the blade.
Yes.
Which would imply that it is a crossguard for fighting with. It's meant to protect your hand. It's not just decorative.
But, you know, if we factor out the crossguard, it looks like an iron sword from Luristan, right?
Oh, yeah.
The
yeah, the crossguard is the real innovation.
Yeah.
But the sword general outline is totally traditional for the those general areas. But Hamadan was Ekbatana in the old times and was the capital of Media.
Yeah. Of course.
And I mean, despite some people doubting that there ever was a Median empire, you've got to wonder. It doesn't fit the kind of preconceived ideas of what an empire would be like. But most of Hamadan is still under Hamadan, like the ancient city is completely under the modern city.
Yes, it is.
So it's only when they're, digging tunnels and stuff, they find actual parts of the old Ekbatana.
Yes, absolutely.
So, I mean, if I was an expert in the area, which I am definitely not, I would not be betting on what they're going to find and whether or not Media turns out to be the Median Empire. This is pre-Median Empire. This is when they're fighting the Assyrians, probably. Whether that was a bigger polity than people currently think. I think it might turn out. See, when excavations happen, new things are found, and that changes your view. And I wouldn't want to kind of be pinning my hopes on, oh yeah, they were just a small group of disorganized tribes. This is sophisticated, and it also shows a probably quite sophisticated fighting style. Because crossguards like this, they mean a certain type of fighting style. You don't make them otherwise.
Oh, this one is this iron, but following the same shape of bronze, right?
Yeah.
Completely cast iron. Yeah.
I'd say more likely forged than cast at that period.
Yeah.
Because early cast iron, which there was a very small amount of, because in areas where they developed a highly developed ceramic industry, they often could make kilns that were much hotter than most people were using for metalworking. But the problem with early cast irons, they're very brittle because they have a very high carbon content.
And this is number 9. Again, this is a bimetallic, bronze handle, and iron plate.
very nicely made.
Yeah.
I'm Yeah, it's see again we've got this wrapping the top of the blade, which may have been a strength thing as well. It certainly means that you've got effectively a ricasso so that you can have your finger on part of the blade without any
Yes.
danger.
Yes.
And that looking at the shape of the handle, that could have been I mean, that's quite a long uh blade with
Long.
quite a long handle to give you more control when you're fencing.
Yes. Yes.
Not saying that they fence the same way as people, but yeah,
Something which I
oh
would like to pay some attention to. This is this knife blade,
yeah,
and you know something which we need to take into consideration. And I have been only when I started to see more and more examples. I haven't written about that, but maybe someday we definitely should. More and
mhm,
more Iranian archaeologists are finding beat curved bronze blades, curved
mm,
iron blades from this period. Curved.
yeah, which you don't see elsewhere. You
Yes.
don't
So
see this
then, which puts our
material.
theory, mine included, or my colleagues included, at that curved blade started to appear around 9th century, right? That
Mhm,
for swords and so. But Pete, before we go ahead, not only with knives and daggers, they excavated bronze swords. Now, some people come and say, oh, yeah, it could be because of the pressure of the ground that they got curved. Then I ask myself, they were excavated with tons of other straight blades. Only some of
yeah.
them got curved.
A blade tends to bend that way, not in the direction of the edge, because that's where it's stiffest. It's more likely to break if it's getting that kind of pressure. To me, if you saw this in a 12th century CE thing, you wouldn't be surprised at it. Now you look at uh, disregarding kopeshes, which
Oh,
are
yeah.
actually
Okay.
more
That's right.
closely related to axes than they are to swords. It's very rare to see curved daggers in, say, Assyria or Babylonia.
Yeah.
And as I say, you could imagine that somebody making kopeshes could think, well, what if we just make the curve the whole of the blade and turn up with a curved sword? But a dagger is a different thing. And I think that the curved dagger is a bigger innovation than the curved sword. Um, Again, they're so rare. I'm gonna say west of the plains at the base of the Zagros Mountains. So in Iraq, Syria, and that curved daggers not very common. In the steppe, curved daggers with a edge on the concave part of the curve, single edged blades. They start turning up around about the 9th century in
Yes.
bronze, not in iron. I haven't seen them in iron. And they went as far east as China because in the Ordos region, the big bend in the Yellow River, they found quite a few of them, often with animal head pommels.
Yeah.
So it started spreading, but this is iron.
Yeah.
This is very early for a curved dagger, and it's almost the perfect form. It's
Yes.
almost
This is
what
this 10th Mazandaran is from Mazandaran, 1000 to 900 BCE.
yeah.
And Beat,
See,
come on. Do you really
and
think it
Mazandaran.
was Beat? Do you really think it was bent by the pressure of the ground? I highly
Oh,
doubt.
no, that's a smooth curve. This is
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
If it was going to bend again, it would bend in the direction of the flats of the blades, not the curve.
Exactly. Not the edge.
And ask a blacksmith who's made a curved sword how much work you've got to go to make it curve. It's not an easy thing. You couldn't just depend on the ground to do it for you.
Yeah, it means that's why many of our theories need to be revisited from time to time, right?
Oh, yeah, but that's what archaeology is for, to
Yes.
find new old things.
Yes, absolutely.
That that's maces. Everybody likes a nice.
Maces, also beautiful, right? Look at this one, Beat. Look.
Oh yeah.
Talking
This is
about
it.
late flanged mace, guys, they have their predecessors.
Yeah, yeah, and but the other one also
Yeah.
is like a pineapple mace.
It is. It
Uh,
looks like a pineapple, yeah.
yeah, but yeah, if you saw if you kind of saw just the top half of the mace, you'd say it was an elaborate um vessel. When you realize it's this little thing for beating people about the head. And these are, well, I know the one on the right is definitely bronze. The one on the left is bronze as well.
As well. You see that here.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
some
Oh,
of
yeah.
them
You can see a bit of verdigris. Yeah.
are made of stone.
Oh, yeah. Well, stone maces, I mean, they go
Yeah.
back thousands of years BCE.
Yes.
And they were. It's interesting. There was a long period where stone maces were popular, and
Yeah.
then they went out of use because people started wearing bronze helmets. Which I wouldn't have thought were that great defense against a stone mace. But then they started making those narrow bladed axes for piercing metal. And then later on, you start to get bronze maces, which maybe their real advantage was they weren't fragile. So maybe the stone maces worked, but you hit the first guy and the mace could break. I mean,
Yeah,
the
of
stone
course.
ball could break.
Of
And in
course.
which case, you're left with a stick, and that guy's friend's really angry with you, which is quite reasonable. So yeah, I have not seen a detailed study of the progression of mace to axe to mace again, but I mean the development of a mace made out of bronze would mean that it was no longer fragile
Yeah.
and it
No,
would work just as well. In fact, bronze with the weight more concentrated in a smaller area would be even more effective as a mace.
definitely. Look
You
at
can
this one, please, Pete.
what strikes me about this is it's quite clear that to these bronze casters, a mace was a very attractive surface to manipulate
Yeah.
for design purposes. So it's like, you want one of those? Let's do this or let's do that, and everybody's happy. I mean, Iran is the home of the ox-headed mace, so it's quite
Yeah.
clear that mace design in Iran has always been, I'm not going to say eccentric, but out there. So
Yes.
I mean, oh yeah, this has vague memories of the disc maces made in stone that were used in
Yes.
Peru in the time of the Incas and that.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
you're right.
when you hit with a disc-headed mace like that, no matter which way you do it, it's going to hit edge on
Hi, John.
and produce a very nasty concussion.
Nasty. Yeah. Very
Yeah.
nasty. Very nasty. Look at this one, Pete.
Oh, that's wonderful. This is when people are going, let's make it even more elaborate. It's going to be great. There's a mace head excavated from Nishapur in the 9th and 10th century CE, which is just a prism in sense, multi-sided long thing that just tapers to a point. And it's so simple and so elegant. But look, here we are, 2,000 years earlier, or somewhat like that. And we're going full on elaborate. I mean,
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And
you
look
can
at,
see,
yeah,
go on.
go
I
ahead,
was
go
going
ahead.
to say, you can see the crime scene investigator saying, "Oh, look at that! That's one of those, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 knobs per row maces. Oh, we know who owns that." But yeah.
Yeah. Now we go to axe speed. Look at the axe collection
Oh,
of them from
oh,
Iran.
right. Of course, axes. Luristan was famous for its exotic-looking axes,
Axes. Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
well, see there you see that shape of that earlier blade almost in the axe blade.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was in Bavaria or somewhere in Central Europe that in the 13th and 14th centuries they had these strange drop axe heads that were part of the regalia of guilds or something like that. That were
Pete, you see
beautifully.
this one? You see this type?
Yeah, well, this is
Axe?
very well known from Egypt. Um,
Exactly. And
the
interestingly, you see excavated items from Sasanian period as well. which have kept the same shape.
Well, they're when I said well known from Egypt, I should point out this looks superficially like the large crescent bladed axe with the two lobes cut out of it. But this is more closely related to the duck's head axes they talk about,
Yeah, exactly.
which are actually not thin slashing blades, but quite solid.
Solid.
Yeah, designed for hitting through armor, not necessarily penetrating, but you get hit by one. If you're not wearing armor, you get a big hole cut into you. If you are wearing armor, it breaks bones.
It breaks
underneath.
bones, definitely. So we can see them different types. Oh yeah, here we have also this type.
That one's more like the flesh cutting one. What strikes me looking at these is this long tradition of two different types of fighting axe. Narrow, percussive, dangerous, and bigger, slashing. Yeah, so one's really for use against people in armor, like tabazins, and one is for use against people who aren't wearing armor. And you see them in processional things in Persian miniatures, even in the Safavid dynasty, where they're carrying these big tabar axes.
Yes.
To signs of rank and importance, like the Romans had fasces.
Yes.
And all this kind of stuff.
Yes.
But yeah, quite clearly, all types of design of axe heads are there.
Yes. You see that?
Yeah, I mean, you know,
look at these ones. Unbelievable.
Yeah, they do get carried away. Again, we're really good at bronze casting. Let's see what we can do with an axe head design. See, a lot of these, again, those very narrow bladed axes are, but a lot of archaeologists think are really for smashing through helmets. They were very prominent in West Asia for a long time. They're small, narrow, penetrating blade, and they for the they're heavy enough that once you swing them, they've got a lot of force. But they're quite. But the thing
imagine, Bede, back then, use a time machine, go back then in Luristan, and you walk in those areas, tons of weapons for sale, all these things.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm looking at the one on opposite what they sometimes call a epsilon axe, with the kind of weird blade. There's
this
sculptures,
one.
Yeah, there's sculptures from around Hattushash and the Hittite capital, and even in the later period down around Zinjili, in the post-Hittite Luwian type kingdoms, of gods carrying axes like that.
Yeah,
I think these have a lot of axes have a lot of symbolic importance. Like Thor's hammer for Vikings, these axes I think had symbolic qualities and possibly even magical qualities because of they're associated with the gods. These ones I love. Well, the one at the bottom, that looks like a combined axe and adze, and maybe a tool.
It is.
I've got one hanging on my wall out there I use for wood carving. Adze on one end and axe on the other. It's very useful. The one above it has this really Baroque blade, which I think might have a piercing function, but cutting function I'm not so sure about.
Yeah.
The prongs on the back I think are very attractive.
Very. Very attractive.
So it's you don't see things later, like in later periods, they're not quite so stylish.
No, they're not. They're not. So we go now to spear and lance hats.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. So we've got cutting spearheads and piercing spearheads.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
nice,
I mean, some are socketed. One clearly had a tang.
Yeah.
But it had a reinforced neck in front of the tang. So for, fencing with the spear rather than just pointing. The number 2 is almost like a naze.
Yeah, it is, definitely.
I mean,
And guys,
it's
one thing which Bede said that it makes it difficult, is it a tank dagger or is it a spearhead? Bede was talking about this type. Of course, not the
yeah,
socketed type, right? That's
yeah,
clear.
yeah. No, the socketed type are quite easy to pick out.
Yes.
The ones number 3
Mhm.
could be just lance type stabbing spears, but they could be javelins too.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. Exactly.
But they've got very strong cross sections. They're meant for penetrating hard things.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Very strong. Here, let me just point it out here.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You wouldn't want. See, I'm always in two minds about javelins because I know they were very effective, and they were very effective even in like the 17th, 18th century. Jared in amongst the Turks and the Persians were both had throwing things, and in Spain, uh, after the expulsion of the Muslims, they still had uh, javelin throwing on horseback games that they the upper classes did. They had the adaga leather shields and they had these javelins and they gallop at each other and so on. And I remember somewhere reading that when Philip II married Queen Mary of England, they actually brought a group of people over to do this, and the English were quite surprised at kind of these grandees going out on horseback and chucking these. Oh, they were quite long. I think they were about 6 feet long. They weren't like little Jared that are quite small, but it's the same basic thing.
Yes.
Javelin armed cavalry.
We move on and go to what Bede likes and loves.
Yes. Yeah, I'm without a scale. I know number 9 is definitely trilobite armor-piercing arrowheads. We go further up and we're seeing broadheads. I think some of the big ones may actually be javelin heads for small javelins.
Yeah.
But I guess all of the bottom row and all of the ones on the right are definitely arrowheads.
Yeah.
But the ones labeled 4 look
Yeah.
really big for arrowheads.
Big,
But
very big.
they can't be because Western Iran in general was well known for its archery, and the Elamites seem to have been kind of technological innovators in bow design. So these, what we're thinking about angular composite bows, for instance, you can have a very long draw, which means you can use big arrowheads.
Yes.
The like number 6 are about the size of Scythian arrowheads, which are for smaller bows with shorter arrows, shot very fast, but I mean the arrow's traveling very fast. Whereas the others, like a 85 centimeter long arrow with a big bronze head with very sharp blades, very dangerous thing if you're a person. Possibly more practical also when you're going hunting, because there were lions and leopards and wolves and wild boar and all kinds of exciting animals living in the mountains. Not to say that there weren't mountain cattle, which were equally bad-tempered and probably quite as dangerous.
And now the museum
was
has a beautiful, beautiful Sasanian sword. Oh, I love this Sasanian sword. Unfortunately, one part of the P-shaped suspension system here, only the lower part remains, the rest, and then the scabbard, the rest of scabbard is also missing.
Oh, yeah, which is usually covered in silver. But it's rare to get to see the sword blade.
Yes, rare, yes.
And there we have a spear point double-edged sword, which would not be out of place in 17th century Europe.
And then it has a pommel cap, excuse me, Pete, the pommel cap is also missing, right, on this one.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It should go
but
this
it's
way.
interesting. I mean, not a lot of people know, because they haven't seen the backs of these swords, that those 2 rivets on the P-shaped thing are actually the ends of a little bracket at the back that a strap goes through for suspending.
Yes, exactly. Yes, here.
So
Pete is referring to this.
Yeah.
to this. Mm.
So it's all, it's all kind
Do
of,
you remember in Iranian museums when I pictured them, you can see that from that.
yeah, yeah. It's really simple. I'm surprised that it didn't keep being used. Because I mean, the more recent styles of scabbard suspension, I mean, like in the 1500s in Turkey and Iran, you see where like a pin goes through the side of the scabbard and there's a ring on it. But these I think are more practical
Yeah, they
and
are. I
even
agree.
easier to make.
I agree. So it's very beautiful to see that,
Yeah, that
So many people don't know that. They know it. Okay, in Iran, there are many Sasanian swords, thanks heaven. But outside Iran, we have British Museum, we have, I think
Metropolitan
Smithsonian's has
Museum.
it, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah. There's quite a few American collections that have them.
yes, but we have also in Germany in this collection one.
Yeah,
Very
and
beautiful.
again we've got that fish scale pattern embossed into the silver fittings,
Yes,
which is really elegant. I mean, even helmets had silver plates put over the iron with this pattern on them in
yes,
Sasanian times because they loved the pattern. It really is attractive.
very.
I mean, I've got leather stamps that make a similar pattern for doing leather embossing, and it works beautifully on leather as well. So it's a great
Do
design.
you think today making such a pattern will be very difficult?
Oh no, silver workers could do it without too much trouble at all.
No,
And
okay.
there's a different ways of doing it, but you could actually have say a bronze uh, mold of it that you just got sheet silver annealed and hammered into the mold and then took it off.
Okay.
People do that with silver work all the time. They do it in contemporary Mongolia. Like
What
if you
about
go
if
to,
you make it out of iron?
well, that's made out of silver.
I know, but what if you
Yeah.
make it out of iron?
It's the same process. It's just a bit more difficult.
Okay, same
Um,
process.
you essentially have a male mold that you hammer it over until you get the the right shape. Then you
Okay, let
take
me
it
just
off.
explain what I'm getting at. If of course back then these guys were so rich, if it got smashed, they had one more made for them. But in today's world, what if you make one made of steel, so it's more stable? That's the reason I'm just asking.
Well, yeah, yeah, I assumed you meant for fighting.
Yes.
And I would say, yeah, you could do it in steel. You could probably even CNC it in steel with, um, you know, having it engraved out of a piece of steel, and
Mm.
then the parts are welded together, like the right side and left side, and that. Um, you could do it in bronze in modern times, and that would be
Nice.
very.
That's right. Bronze is another alternative.
Yeah.
You're right.
But
That's so.
I think these ones are actually silver sheet.
They are.
Ra Rather than being cast, it's been embossed.
Yes,
That's
they are
that's
silver sheets. I saw them in my hands. They were silver
yeah,
sheets. Yes.
yeah. And I mean embossing, you can emboss it. I saw on YouTube someone making a one of those kind of late Renaissance helmets with the, like eagle's head or something on it, and raising the whole thing in steel. And another person made one of those Roman style masks for a cavalry helmet, again out of steel. He did the whole thing on an anvil with a selection of hammers and stakes on the anvil. So I mean, I would imagine he charged a lot for it because it was an awful lot of work. And more than just the physical work, there was the design work. I mean, you can see one of these in a museum, but turning that into a three-dimensional object requires a lot of skill and understanding of design. Oh yes, that's lovely.
Lovely, huh? Really
Oh
nice.
yeah, yeah, that's beautifully made. And as
Bede,
I
you
say,
can use this pattern on your leather, for example, for something.
yeah, yeah, I've done it with a quiver.
Oh, you don't.
Uh, yeah, it's great. I found, I forget, I think it was in one of the leather supply places. I found a stamp of exactly that shape, and I thought, oh wait a minute, this will look nice because I'd seen the scabbards as well, and I thought, oh, that's very attractive. What happens if I do this in leather? as a background for other
Beautiful.
design, and it works perfectly. Oh,
Now we
yes,
go to this Islamic period Iran, one of those beautiful Persian khanjars with crucible steel blade, patterned crucible steel blade, and walrus ivory carved. Oh, they're
yeah,
so beautiful, really. I
yeah.
love them.
They are such. This they're very attractive. They're again what we were saying about the Bronze Age swords, right?
Yeah.
They show off how wealthy you are. They show off your good taste. They're an accessory to your clothes, but they work.
Pete,
It's
look at
still a
this.
very.
What is this?
This is a person smoking a hookah, isn't it?
It's a hookah. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So, that I assume this is early or mid Qajar,
Yes,
something like
early to
yeah,
mid culture. Yeah,
yeah. But look at the way they've just got the bands of decoration on the pommel cap and the crossguard area.
yeah.
Just classic designs, just carved in flowers and whatnot.
Pete, look at the top of the handle. Is it an eagle? What is
I think
this?
I think it's a hawk standing
Oh, it's a
on a
hawk. You're right.
yeah,
It's not
because
an eagle.
hawks, but
It's a
high,
hawk. Yeah.
what rich people did, though, of course, so did nomads
It's a
and
hawk.
peasants. Yeah, so this has got all the symbols of what a wealthy person would have.
Yes.
See, what I love about cards is they are the quintessential knife.
Yeah.
They've got all the things a knife needs and none of the things a knife doesn't need.
Yeah. Pete,
Yeah,
look at the pattern. Look how beautiful the pattern is.
oh
Look.
yeah, the steel is beautiful. See, this is minimalist design. The steel says, here is the pattern. The ivory grip scale say, I'm rich. But it's perfectly utilitarian.
Perfect.
You could use this to cut up food or cut up fruit or not fruit so much because the acid in the fruit might damage the blade or change the patination of the blade. But, it's just such a practical knife.
And look at them.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is when you really want to show off.
Look.
These are Turkish, are they?
No, they're all Persian beat. Oh,
Oh, yeah, because the center one clearly is Persian because of the enameling.
yes. Yes.
The one on the left, oh,
Yeah.
the blade is clearly Persian.
This is, yeah.
I just thought well, yeah, the pierce steel on the scabbard again.
Yeah.
It's a very Yemeni shape to the handle, even though it's
Yes.
not made like a Yemeni would make it. It's made with.
These are this Qajar flower design. You see that here?
Oh yeah,
You see that?
yeah.
Look at
Again,
this. Okay, these examples, we see them. Some of them are on gold base, pure gold. Most of them are on copper based, and then they're
yeah,
enameled. Yeah.
yeah. See, yeah, that's again really strong blade, and I mean strong in design and strong in function, but a highly decorative handle and scabbard. The enameling, I've seen scabbards where the front is in one design and on the back it's just enameled
Yes.
because that's smooth and it doesn't catch on your clothes or anything. But on the
Yes.
other hand, it says, look how rich I am. I can have this on the side of the sword you're not even looking at. Ah,
Oh, this one. Look at this.
oh yeah. See, this is quite sophisticated design. There are kind of purely Iranian influences in the way the pierced steelwork is done,
Yeah.
and other influences that look kind of European, Baroque kind of
Yes,
feeling.
because in Farangistazi, as we call it,
Yeah.
Europeanizing in the
Yeah.
mid Qajar period was
Yeah.
a
And,
big
and
thing.
I wasn't implying that was anyway worse than a purely Persian one. I'm just saying that Iran was absorbing ideas,
Yes, absolutely.
never stops absorbing ideas. So therefore you always get these conflicts. See that uh a friend of mine had a Turkish dagger in that shape,
Yes, yes, absolutely.
and those blades are really, really strong, and they're very
Yes.
good for getting through armor.
This
The weak
part
spot,
is missing, is broken. Just one
yeah,
thing, this part is
yeah,
missing. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, the actual finish on the decoration on the scabbard and the grip is really high grade. Is that I'm is that a combination of metal and ivory, or is it
Yeah,
white
it is.
enamel?
It is, yes, it is ivory, indeed.
Oh, right. Yeah. So that's even harder to do. But yeah, a basic dagger that's even though it's highly decorated, it's really practical because they're not very long blades, but
No,
they're
this one is not long. No.
super strong.
Yeah. And now many qames, right? And
Oh, yeah.
khanjars. Okay, these ones are Caucasian and Persian qames on top,
Mhm.
right? Look at this. And qaddare. This one is qaddare, as you see that, as we
Yeah,
call it.
beautiful coloring.
And this one is qame.
Mm. They became very popular
Yeah,
in what late Safavid times
yes.
to Zand and
And
Qajar.
one thing which I love, but okay, it's not part of this arms and armor, but this sharbat spoon.
Yeah. No, very, very elegant spoon.
Very elegant. I love them. Really love them. Just wanted to
Yeah.
put some of them. We move
Yeah.
on, Bede. We go to